Hi, I'm Jenny Rae, the Managing Director of Management Consulted, and I've gotten to thinking recently, we talk a lot about how great consulting firms are, but the good stuff, the real information, is actually in talking about how terrible some things are about them. So I went to the obvious place to look, which was Glassdoor, and filtered by 1-star reviews. Man, this stuff is a hot mess. And I'm just gonna read a couple of these excerpts from you for Bain because there's a real story inside here. I think you'll pick it up as we go. Here's one of the first ones. I'm probably gonna die as I'm talking through these. So this is, I worked at Bain & Company full-time. The pros are, I'm a true believer that for many, BCG is the best consulting firm out there. So either this person has no idea what they're talking about and they didn't work for Bain, or they're just being harsh and rude, just saying that one of the main competitors of Bain is one of the best consulting firms are out there. Also, I just love that was a pro, which is awkward. But then also the cons. Also, all the normal ones for a consulting firm. Nobody explains what these are. You just assume that certain things are terrible. But great culture and improvements to work-life balance are generally beyond where the competitors are. I don't think this person understands how the review system works. Still entertaining to read nonetheless. Here's another one. So I worked at Bain & Company full-time, more than 3 years. Some pros: strong culture, the Bain way of doing things. Cons: the Bain way is the only way. Also, Bain is number 1, 2, and 3 priority, and you have to become a Bainie. I'm not really sure what you are if you don't become a Bainie, if you're working for Bain. Really confusing to me. Also, there's negative bashing of competitors on events and meetings, all to uphold Bain and to strengthen culture. That's normal, PS. Also, some real true awkward things, but buried in here, the women's agenda is way behind. There's a fair share of female partners, but no real role models or female partners with power. Not entirely true, but also an interesting point, certainly meritorious if it is an issue. But in general, just basically talking about how they felt like they were expected to get excited about working at the company that they had chosen to work for. So again, awkward, right? Here's another one, 1 star, typical consulting. Some pros: good brand name, which can help the career. Great people, mostly smart and highly motivated. I love these. I think these pros are fantastic, right? And then the cons: rigid structure, need to follow the development plan and career path laid out by the firm. I'm not entirely clear what career path you would follow if not the one laid out by the firm. So these are just, in general, slightly unrealistic. Also, the skills required at all levels are different. So someone who is a great analyst will not make a good manager. That is true, but not a con. So again, a really confusing review to me. Here's another one. I love the title for this one. Bain Dubai equals Azkaban plus Hunger Games plus Mordor. This is expected to be intense. Again, the pros, pretty great, right? Super tight-knit culture, high growth opportunities, but the cons are just amazing. Super high turnover, again, standard for consulting. Management struggling to get enough consultants to staff their project. There are people begging to work for places like Bain. Management care little about your development or work-life balance. Maybe true, maybe not true, but again, I'm not sure how that makes it Hunger Games or Mordor. So I love the drama. All right, just a couple more. These are so good. By the way, if you just go read them, you'll find yourself in a black hole of time. It's amazing. So I've been working at Bain full-time for more than a year. The pros: ability to get an interview almost anywhere after. I would say that's a huge pro of working for the firm, but then the cons: long hours, always on call for trivial tasks. Okay, fair. Work for a new MBA instead of a more experienced manager or partner. This is my favorite one. I've seen so many people cry at work in under 2 years here, and within a year, almost everyone wants to quit. There is a lot of turnover. There are reasons for it. And then in addition, people at the top partners are essentially salespeople, so a very salesy organization. Then this is harsh at the end. There's a reason this is the number 3 consulting firm. By the way, Bain is the number 3 consulting firm by size, but not necessarily by rankings. It depends entirely on what you look at. But there's the reason this is the number 3 consulting firm. Stop having new MBAs from less than top tier schools. Not even sure what that means, but it's really harsh. Manage talented undergrads from top tier schools, which I'm guessing this person is a talented undergrad. I wish I had interviewed with BCG and McKinsey, as they seem to know how to better nurture top talent. Love the drama. And then the final one, this is my favorite pro. The paycheck does not bounce. True, true, and true. Probably never will. But the cons, for the past several years, we hear the firm is growing over 10%. Why are budgets squeezed so hard? So I just think at the end of the day, when I look through all of these, and there are more of them for all the firms, in reality, there's only a handful of these one-star reviews for all of the glowing reviews of the firms. So when you put it all together, what really ends up coming out of this is that a lot of people realize when you're in consulting for a year that the marketing pitch of flying first class and spending your time at happy hours isn't all that consulting is cut out to be. It's a lot of hard work and a very political environment. And when you put all that together and you realize that that's what they're saying, I think these one-star reviews are actually talking about some really amazing things at these consulting firms. Hope you enjoyed.